usually when we talk about a sporting event, there's this built-in expectation that raw metrics are just going to completely dictate the outcome.
Right. I mean, it's just how we're trained to think about competition from day one.
Exactly. Like, take auto racing, for example. You put a highly tuned Ferrari on a track against, a standard mid-size sedan, and it's just a math equation at that point.
Yeah, it's entirely binary. The top speed wins.
Right. There's no drama. There's no mystery to it. It's just physics and engineering playing out exactly as the blueprints intended.
It's a very clean way to look at the world, and honestly, it's comforting.
Oh, for sure.
Human beings are fundamentally wired to look at a spreadsheet, find the highest number, and just assume that highest number crosses the finish line first. We really crave that kind of predictability.
And here's where that assumption completely falls apart. You take that exact same Ferrari with the exact same engine, that massive top speed, and you take it off the pristine test track. You put it right in the middle of downtown rush hour traffic. Suddenly, that theoretical top speed doesn't mean a single thing if the car is boxed in on the inside lane behind, like, a slow-moving delivery truck.
With taxis cutting it off on the left and right.
Exactly. Meanwhile, you have a nimble little motorcycle starting from the outside lane, doesn't have half the horsepower, but it can weave through the gaps, avoid the friction, and just keep its momentum moving forward.
Right.
That motorcycle is going to beat the Ferrari across town every single time.
That is the perfect way to frame what we are talking about today. Because in that scenario, the outcome is no longer about raw power. It is the absolute definition of positional advantage.
Yeah, the environment dictates the winner.
Exactly. The environment itself dictates the winner, not just the engine under the hood.
And that concept, the environment dictating the winner is exactly what we are unpacking in today's deep dive. We are taking a moving, breathing puzzle and putting it under the microscope for you.
It's a fascinating puzzle, too.
It really is. Specifically, we are looking at a phenomenal event today. Churchill Downs Race 6, the Knicks Go Overnight Stakes. Just for context, it's a 1-mile race on the main dirt track for 4-year-olds and up.
And this isn't just, some random Thursday afternoon claiming race. This is a high-level, highly competitive field filled with extremely talented athletes.
Oh, absolutely.
On paper, if you are just reading the resumes, it looks like a heavyweight clash where the biggest, fastest horse should simply impose its will on everybody else.
It really does look that way at first glance. But our mission today is a bit different. If you are listening to this right now and you have your racing program in front of you, we aren't just going to read down the list of past performances like the back of a baseball card.
Right, that's what everybody else does.
Exactly. We are utilizing a really fascinating analytical framework from our source materials called herd geometry. We are going to use this tool to predict the actual physical dynamic shape of the race.
Which, I promise you, is going to reveal a completely different reality than what the general betting public is going to see when they look at the morning line odds.
That's the true hook of this entire discussion. The public is going to look at the favorite in this race and see an absolute unstoppable force.
Yeah.
Like a monster that should crush the field based on raw speed.
Oh, they'll hammer him at the windows.
But if you read the race shape, if you can look at the track and actually see the rush hour traffic forming before the gates even open, you're going to see a high-priced trap.
Yeah, the winner isn't always the fastest horse on paper.
Right. The winner is the horse that is free to move when all that early pressure finally resolves. So today, we are figuring out who is driving the Ferrari straight into a traffic jam and who is quietly driving the motorcycle.
I really love that setup because the most fundamental mistake people make when evaluating a complex race like the Knicks Go Overnight Stakes is starting with the wrong question entirely.
Right. They open up the racing form.
Yeah, they open it up, they look at all those little numbers and speed ratings, and they ask themselves, who is the best horse in this field?
Which, to be fair, that seems like the most logical place to start. You want to bet the best horse, right?
It seems logical, sure, but it's fundamentally flawed if you actually want to be profitable long term. According to the herd geometry doctrine we are analyzing, the absolute first rule is that you never start by asking, who is the best horse?
Okay, so what's the right question?
The question you must start with is, what shape will this race become?
Let's unpack the physics of that for a second. We really need to force ourselves to look at these horses differently. Like, we can't view them as isolated athletes running on individual treadmills where they just, press a button and hit their top speed.
No, absolutely not.
We need to view them more like billiard balls scattered on a table, about to violently crash into each other the exact moment the cue ball strikes.
That is a very accurate visual. A horse race is essentially a moving, chaotic pressure system. Horses absolutely do not run in isolation.
Right, every move matters.
Exactly. Every single time a horse shifts lanes, accelerates or decelerates, it instantly changes the geometry for every other horse around it. In this framework, every horse in the field is assigned a specific role.
And there are 4 main roles, right?
Yes, they are doing one or 4 things in this pressure system. They are either creating pressure, absorbing pressure, avoiding pressure, or benefiting from pressure.
So, to figure out what shape the race will take, we have to classify the horses based on the roles they naturally play. Our source material breaks this down really well. I want to walk through these identities because understanding the mechanics here is just crucial.
It's the foundation of everything we're about to talk about.
Right. Let's start with the one that usually gets the most television time and, frankly, the most betting money, the anchor.
Right, so the anchor is exactly what the name implies. It is a dominant speed horse that wants to drop its massive weight on the field and dictate the terms of engagement.
It wants to just control everything.
Exactly. It wants to launch out of the starting gate, go straight to the front, and establish the pace and control the entire flow of the race. But, and this is where the system gets highly nuanced, the herd geometry framework makes a critical distinction between a true anchor and a false anchor.
I found this distinction completely fascinating when I was going through the notes. It feels like the linchpin to the whole system.
It really is. A true anchor is a rare commodity. This is a horse that can blast to the lead, but more importantly, it can handle extreme pressure and keep going.
So it doesn't fold when things get tough.
Right. A true anchor does not panic psychologically or exhaust itself physically when another horse runs right up beside it and looks it in the eye. It has the stamina, the bone density, and the mental fortitude to fight off challengers and still finish strong.
Okay, so then what is the false anchor?
A false anchor is a horse that looks incredibly overwhelmingly powerful on paper. It puts up massive, eye-popping speed figures when everything is perfectly, but it has a glass jaw.
Oh, a glass jaw. I like that.
Yeah, it cannot survive sustained pressure. If a false anchor gets challenged early, if it has to fight for its position in the first half mile, it burns through its energy reserves and completely fades down the stretch. It fundamentally requires a perfect, unchallenged, comfortable setup to win.
Which brings us to what the sources call the golden rule of this entire analytical framework. I want you, the listener, to write this down in your mental notebook. Speed only matters if speed gets comfortable.
That is the mantra. Keep that phrase in your mind for this entire deep dive. If a front runner, an anchor, cannot jump out, clear the rest of the field, relax its stride, and settle into a rhythmic breathing pattern,
Then its raw speed figures are entirely meaningless.
exactly. If a horse is physically and psychologically stressed for the first half mile of a race, lactic acid builds up in its muscles, its breathing becomes shallow, and it will have absolutely nothing left in the tank for the final push to the finish line.
Okay, so that's the anchor setting the tone. Now, what happens if there's a horse in the field that also wants to go to the front, but maybe isn't quite talented enough to actually win the race? That brings us to our second role, right? The disruptor.
The disruptor is the pure agent of chaos. This is a horse with intense early speed that wants to occupy the exact same physical space on the dirt track as the anchor.
Just to make things difficult.
Basically, yeah. It forces the pace to be significantly faster or significantly more contested than the anchor wants it to be.
My favorite line from the herd geometry document regarding the disruptor is this. A disruptor's job is not to win. Its job is to break somebody else.
That is the brutal reality of race riding. Disruptors are kamikaze pilots.
Wow, kamikaze pilot.
It's true. From a betting standpoint, they might fade terribly in the stretch and finish dead last by 20 lengths. But their sheer presence in the first 4 furlongs changes the entire outcome of the race for everyone else.
Because they wear down the anchor.
Right. They are the catalyst that determines whether the front of the race survives and holds on or completely collapses under exhaustion.
All right, so we have the anchor trying to assert control, and we have the disruptors acting like chaos agents trying to ruin the anchor's day. That dynamic perfectly sets up the third role, which the framework designates as the prime winning profile in a lot of races. The satellite.
The satellite is your tactical stalker. This is the horse that has enough natural speed to stay relevant, but sits just behind the brutal early speed battle.
So they're just watching the fight happen in front of them.
Pretty much. They're close enough to strike when the time is right, but not so close that they get burned by the intense friction of the early pace. Typically, you'll see a satellite sitting somewhere between second and sixth place during the early stages of a race.
So they're essentially absorbing the benefits of the pressure system without actually taking any of the physical damage.
Yes, think of aerodynamics. They are drafting. If the speed horses up front start to break down and tire out, the satellite inherits the lead seamlessly.
It's just a smooth transition.
Exactly. They get the absolute first, clean, unobstructed run at the prize money, well before the horses in the back of the pack can even get into gear.
And speaking of the back of the pack, that leads us to the fourth and final role, the ghost.
The ghost is your deep, dramatic closer. This is the horse that trails far behind the main body of the field early on, sometimes completely out of the television frame, and tries to make one massive, sustained run at the very end.
Everybody loves watching a ghost win. It's so dramatic.
It makes for great TV, but the problem with ghosts is that they require three very specific, very fragile things to happen in order to win.
What are they?
They need the pace in front of them to completely collapse. They need a perfectly clean lane to run through without getting blocked by tiring horses. And they need their jockey to time their acceleration with absolute perfection.
And if they don't get all three of those things aligning like, a solar eclipse.
They arrive too late. The doctrine has a very blunt way of putting it. Ghosts collect pieces. Satellites collect wins.
Collect pieces, meaning they just hit the board.
Right. Ghosts are fantastic for hitting the board, maybe sneaking into second or third place in your exotic bets and beefing up the payouts, but they are incredibly dangerous to bet on top as the outright winner unless you are predicting a complete and total pace meltdown up front.
This is a brilliant foundation. We have our analytical lens clearly in focus. We understand the billiard balls on the table, the anchors, the disruptors, the satellites, and the ghosts.
So now we just need to apply it.
Exactly. Let's take this theoretical framework and apply it directly to the harsh reality of the dirt track. Let's look at Churchill Downs Race 6, and let's tackle the elephant in the room. We really need to evaluate the favorite, a horse named Dragoon Guard.
Dragoon Guard is perhaps the most fascinating case study you could possibly ask for when demonstrating how the casual betting public assesses a race versus how a structural, geometry-based handicapper assesses it.
Let's lay out his resume first, because I want to be fair to the horse. On paper, without any context, this animal looks like an absolute world beater.
Oh, totally.
He is the 31 morning line favorite. He is owned by Judd Monty, which is one of the premier global racing operations. He is trained by Brad Cox, who the stats show is hitting at an incredible 32% win rate with horses taking the blinkers off.
And Dragoon Guard is taking the blinkers off today.
Yes, he is. And to top it all off, he has Erod Ortiz Jr. in the saddle, who is undeniably one of the most aggressive and successful jockeys on the planet.
Just the human connections alone, Judd Monty, Cox, and Ortiz are going to draw massive amounts of betting money from the public.
Right.
But then you look at his actual statistical profile in the present past performances, and it almost looks unfair.
It's staggering. Like, he is ranked #1 in the field in prime power at 144.8.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening who isn't a hardcore handicapper, prime power isn't just a raw speed number.
No, it's much more comprehensive.
Right. It's a highly sophisticated algorithm that combines a horse's speed, class, pace, and recent form into one master rating. A 144.8 is massive. To put it in context, the next closest horse in this entire race is BU at 140.6, and then the numbers just drop off a cliff.
He's also got the class.
Yeah, he has the highest class rating in the field at 119.8. He boasts the best raw speed rating at this specific 1 mile distance with a 96. His Brisnet Run style designation is an E8. And practically speaking, he has won 5 of his 12 lifetime starts and banked over $930,000 in earnings.
If you are playing this game purely by reading the numbers in a vacuum, he looks entirely invincible. He has the ultimate resume of a true controlling anchor who should just jog to the finish line. But
here's where the rush hour traffic analogy comes roaring back. The geometry of the race pushes back against those numbers.
it pushes back violently. We cannot just look at his speed. We have to look at where he has to deploy that speed from. Let's look at his post position. In a field of 12 horses, Dragoon Guard drew post 2.
So he is buried on the inside rail.
Exactly.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because I'm looking at the Brisnet track bias stats for the Churchill Downs 1 mile dirt distance.
Let's hear him.
The data says the rail post is winning at a very healthy 19% clip right now with a 1.35 impact value, meaning it's significantly overperforming expectations. Right. Furthermore, Horses drawn in inside posts, specifically posts 1 through 3, are winning 20% of the time.
Right.
Plus, Churchill historically shows a massive 57% early speed bias at this 1-mile distance. So I have to ask, he's a massive speed horse, drawn on the inside on a track surface that statistically favors inside speed. Isn't he just so fundamentally superior to these other horses that he can just outrun whatever pressure comes his way?
It's a completely valid question, and frankly, that exact logic is why the betting public will hammer his odds down.
So why are they wrong?
Because this is where you have to apply herd geometry's anchor clearance rule. Yes, the statistics show the rail is a massive advantage, but there's a massive caveat. It is only an advantage if you can clear the field. If you have the explosive quickness to jump out of the starting gate, cross over, secured rail position by yourself, and relax your stride.
We go back to the golden rule. Speed only matters if speed gets comfortable.
Precisely. And this is where the run style designation becomes critical. You mentioned he is an E8. That E stands for early, and the 8 is the maximum possible rating for early exertion.
So he's going fast early.
Yes. This means Dragoon Guard is behaviorally and physically hardwired to explode early. But drawing post 2 with an E8 running style in this specific field is actually a structural trap.
Why is it a trap?
Because he is pinned on the inside with 10 horses to his right, he has absolutely no strategic options. Erod Ortiz Jr. must send him hard out of the gate.
He just has to floor the gas pedal.
He has to. He cannot afford to break a step slow, and he cannot afford to sit back and try to be tactical. Because if he does, that massive wall of 1,200-pound animals to his outside will naturally angle inward to save ground.
And they'll just crush him down on the rail.
They will completely collapse down on the rail and box him in.
He's the Ferrari, but he's locked in the inside lane surrounded by semi-trucks. He has to floor the gas pedal just to avoid getting crushed.
Exactly. He is forced to exert maximum energy just to hold his ground. And when we look at the horses drawn to his outside, we can definitively see that he is not going to get a loose lead.
He's not getting comfortable.
No. He is not going to clear this field, get out in front by 2 lengths, and take a nice deep breath on the backstretch. He is going to have to spend the entire first half of this race engaged in hand-to-hand combat, fighting to defend his position on the rail while horses breathe right down his neck.
And we don't even have to guess how he handles that kind of pressure, because we can look at his past performances to prove it. The racing form report we are using explicitly flags him as a false anchor candidate.
Yes, it does.
The exact quote is, "If he clears and breathes, he can win. If he has to absorb even modest pressure, he becomes much less reliable."
We have concrete evidence of this glass jaw. Look at his recent race on March 14th at Colonial Downs, the Royal North Kent Stakes.
Okay, what happened there?
He went off as the heavy 3-5 favorite. He got engaged in a battle early. He couldn't shake loose from the horse right next to him. The pressure mounted, and he ended up getting passed and finishing second.
Right.
Or go back to the Pennsylvania Derby last September. He drew post 7, managed to get an inside trip, but he was constantly pressured and harassed, and he could only manage to stagger home in 3rd. When he doesn't get things exactly his own way, when he can't just bully the field, he is deeply vulnerable.
So, to summarize the favorite, he is the exact textbook profile of a horse the public will wildly overbet based on his raw talent and his human connections, while completely ignoring the structural trap of the race shape.
Yeah, the public is going to miss the trap entirely.
He has to run as fast as he physically can just to survive the first turn without getting swallowed up. Okay, so if Dragoon Guard has to fight for his life on the inside rail, who exactly is picking the fight? If we are mapping out the early pressure, we need to look at the disruptors.
This is where we identify the specific horses that are going to make Dragoon Guard's life absolutely miserable. Because he is in post 2, we have to look out to his right. We have to scan the outside posts.
The first one that practically jumps off the page is Prince of Power, drawn in post 5.
Most casual bettors will cross him out immediately.
Right, but look at his Brisnet run style. He is also designated as an E8.
This is your pure, unadulterated disruptor.
Right.
Let's be clear. Prince of Power is not a better horse than Dragoon Guard. His prime power rating is only 132.2 compared to Dragoon Guard's 144.8.
So he's outclassed.
Heavily outclassed.
Yeah.
But he possesses one singular, devastating weapon. Massive, blinding early speed. And breaking from post 5, his jockey, Mario Gutierrez, knows the reality of the situation. Gutierrez knows he is sitting on a 301 Longshot, and he knows he only has one possible chance to be relevant in this race.
He has to send Prince of Power straight to the front.
Exactly.
And there's an interesting wrinkle here with Prince of Power. He's coming off a series of races on the synthetic track surface at Turfway Park. He ran in a $62,500 claiming race, set the pace, and tired to finish fourth. Before that, he faded in the Dust Commander Stakes.
Yeah, the synthetic form.
Right, a lot of people look at synthetic form and say it doesn't translate well to Churchill's dirt. So he might not have the stamina to actually win a grueling dirt mile against this high caliber of field, but the surface change doesn't negate his early speed, right?
Not at all.
He absolutely has the early juice to crowd Dragoon Guard right out of the gate.
You hit the nail on the head. His job, in the grand scheme of this race's geometry, isn't to win the Knicks Go Stakes. His job, structurally speaking, is to break from post 5, angle inward, look Dragoon Guard directly in the eye for the first 4 furlongs, and not let him rest for a single second.
I love my sports analogy, so let's try another one here. Prince of Power is basically that annoying, undersized defensive lineman in football.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Right. He might not be strong enough to actually get the sack himself. He's not the star of the defense. But he's incredibly quick off the snap, he crashes the line of scrimmage, he occupies 2 blockers, and most importantly, he flushes the superstar quarterback Dragoon Guard out of the comfortable pocket and forces him to scramble.
That is an exceptional analogy. Because Dragoon Guard is pinned inside, Prince of Power is going to crash that pocket. And the problem for Dragoon Guard is that Prince of Power isn't the only defensive lineman rushing the passer.
Wait, there's another one.
Look further outside to post 8. We have a horse named Burnin' Hot.
Let's talk about Burnin' Hot. He has an E6 run style, so he's an early speed horse, but maybe not quite as explosive as the E8s.
Right, and E6 makes him an early agitator. He doesn't have the sheer rocket-like zip of an E8, but he is plenty fast enough to ensure the pace stays brutally honest.
Are there any red flags with him?
A few. He hasn't raced in 63 days. And his last start was an absolute disaster in the Gulfstream Park Mile, where he essentially stopped running and put up an abysmal 45 Brisnet speed figure. He is totally, completely untrustworthy in the late stages of a race.
But again, his late race stamina isn't what matters to the geometry of the first half mile.
Exactly. Because Dragoon Guard is in post 2, and Prince of Power is in post 5, and Burnin' Hot is in post 8, you have this cascading effect. The outside speed horses will naturally angle inward to save ground. They will collapse down on Dragoon Guard.
It's a wall of pressure.
The herd geometry system has a specific, highly descriptive term for this exact race shape. It calls it an unstable front.
An unstable front. Okay, so we've mapped it out. We know the front of this race is unstable. We know there will be a fierce multi-horse fight for the lead going into the first turn. The billiard balls are going to crash together.
Yes, they are.
But the most critical question in handicapping isn't if they will fight, it's how that fight ends. Does the pace completely blow up in spectacular suicidal fashion, or does it just slowly, painfully drain away?
And this brings us to what the source material argues is the single most important distinction a handicapper can make.
What is it?
It is the core debate of race analysis, the difference between a snap and an erosion.
Let's explore this deeply, because this is where the average bettor, even the ones who correctly predict a speed duel, ends up losing their money.
Oh, all the time.
When most people see multiple early speed horses on paper, they immediately assume the pace is going to be completely suicidal.
Right. They assume it will be what the framework calls a sharp collapse or a snap race. A snap race is when multiple speed horses just run themselves into the ground going impossibly fast, and then they all hit a physical brick wall simultaneously, usually right as they hit the final turn. The front of the race just suddenly shatters.
And if that happens, the system dictates that you want to bet the horses coming from way in the back. The deep ghosts just come flying past a field of exhausted horses standing still.
But we cannot just assume a snap will happen. We have to look closely at the math. We have to look at the Brisnet speed pars for this specific caliber of race.
What exactly is a par for the listeners who might not know?
A par is essentially the average historical speed required to be competitive at each stage of the race. For a 1-mile stakes race at Churchill, the par is a 92 for the first quarter-mile call, which is the E1 rating.
Okay.
The par for the half-mile call, the E2, is a 99, and the late pace par is a 90.
Okay, so we have the baseline, 92, 99, 90. Let's match our specific speed horses against those historical pars.
Dragoon Guard just threw a 104 E1 and an 88 E2 in his last race. Prince of Power is capable of a 104 E1 and a blistering 111 E2. Burnin' Hot can put up a 102 E1.
Wow, so they are way above the pars.
So yes, these are very fast horses. They are well above the 92 par for the early stages. But here is the critical nuance. They aren't suicidal. They aren't going to go out and run the first half mile in 44 seconds flat and just completely stop breathing.
What does the report say?
The racing form report evaluates their past tendencies and explicitly states the early pace should be honest but not suicidal.
So because Dragoon Guard, Prince of Power, and Burnin' Hot are fast, but their speed is somewhat manageable and sustained, the pace isn't going to result in a spectacular meltdown.
No, it won't.
It projects to be what the herd geometry framework calls a gradual erosion race.
Gradual erosion. It is a brilliant term. The speed horses are going to battle, and they will keep moving forward, but they will slowly, steadily lose their bite. Their strides will shorten.
So they don't just stop.
Right. The race will open up gradually in the stretch rather than coming to a dramatic screeching halt on the mid-turn. It is the difference between a car slamming into a brick wall versus a car simply running out of gas and slowly coasting to a stop.
So what does this distinction mean for our actual betting strategy? What is the golden rule when we diagnose a gradual erosion shape?
The rule is explicit. If speed fades slowly, take the efficient satellite, not the deep ghost.
This is such a common trap. I've fallen for it myself. You assume that if there's any kind of speed duel, you should just blindly bet the deep is closer in the race. You see fire up front, so you bet the fire extinguisher sitting in the back.
It's tempting logic.
But why is that logic a trap in a gradual erosion race?
Because you have to think about the literal physics of a gradual erosion on a dirt track. The horses on the lead are getting tired, yes. Their lungs are burning. But they are still physically moving forward toward the finish line.
Right, they haven't stopped.
They are just moving slightly slower than they were a quarter mile ago. If you are a deep closer coming from 15 lengths back, you still have to pass tired horses that are running a 12-second furlong. You have to make up massive amounts of ground on a moving target.
That's a lot of ground to cover.
By the time the closer gets their momentum fully unwound and hits top speed, the finish line has already arrived. The horse that wins a gradual erosion race is the horse that is sitting just a few lengths back, already fully engaged in the flow of the race, and simply needs to accelerate slightly as the leaders decelerate.
I really want to drive this point home because it's the difference between a winning ticket and tearing up your voucher. Let's look at the deepest closer in the field. Let's look at the premier ghost of this race and see exactly why he is likely to run out of runway.
This brings us to a fascinating horse in this field. Let's look at Moonlight, breaking from post 11.
He is designated as an S0 run style.
A pure closer.
Right. For those not familiar, the S stands for sustained, which means he is a pure, deep closer. The 0 means he possesses absolutely zero early speed. He's going to drop to the back of the pack the moment the gates open.
But those late numbers.
But man, if you look at his late numbers, they are eye-catching. He has the highest late pace figure in the entire field at 101. Furthermore, his overall best dirt speed figure is actually the fastest among all today's starters.
He's got the resume for it.
He clearly has legitimate distance credibility, too. He won a mile in a 16th race right here at Churchill Downs back in September. And he has Jose Ortiz riding for trainer Chris Block.
Let's be honest. If you are a surface-level handicapper who just scans the sheet for big numbers, you see the unstable front up ahead, you see Moonlight's massive 101 late pace figure, you see the 81 odds, and you think you have just found the genius upset pick of the day.
I mean, I would be tempted. But if you listen to the herd geometry system, it introduces a concept called the ghost caution rule. Explain why Moonlight is a trap here.
The ghost caution rule is a reality check. It states that deep closers require 3 very specific elements to align perfectly in order to actually win a race.
Okay, what's number 1?
Number 1, pace. They need the leaders to run unsustainably fast and get exhausted. Number 2, lane. They are coming from behind 10 other horses, so they need a completely clean path through tiring horses without having to check their stride or alter course violently.
And number 3?
Number 3, timing. The jockey has to launch their bid at the exact right microsecond.
And the rule says if any one of those 3 things is missing, they usually arrive too late.
Exactly. And in this specific race, as we just established with the speed pars, we are looking at a gradual erosion, not a late vacuum or a sharp meltdown. The front runners like Dragoon Guard are going to be leg weary in the stretch, but they won't be stopping.
So Moonlight just has too much to overcome.
No, Moonlight is going to have to make up too much ground on horses that are still moving forward.
Let's bring in the hard data to back this theory up because the stats are glaring. If you look at the Brisnet track bias statistics for this current meet at the 1-mile dirt distance, it is an absolutely brutal environment for closers.
Brutal is the right word.
The S, or sustained run styles, have a measly 0.84 impact value. That means they are winning significantly less than their fair share. They win just 22% of the time at this distance.
And what about the satellites?
Meanwhile, the EP, or early presser types, the satellites, are winning 30% of the time with a positive 1.11 impact value. The physical profile of the Churchill Downs track itself is screaming at you that coming from the clouds is a massive mathematical disadvantage.
The geometry just does not support a deep closer here, and you can see it in Moonlight's recent history. Look at his last race, the Grade 3 Mineshaft Stakes at Fairgrounds in February.
Did he get there?
No, he did exactly what he always does. He settled in the back, he saved ground on the inside, but he simply never mounted a rally when it mattered. He finished 6th. Before that, in the Grade 3 Louisiana Stakes, he trailed the field for most of the way and again finished 6th.
So if the setup isn't perfect, he just doesn't fire.
When he doesn't get a perfect collapsing pace setup tailored exactly to his run style, he just collects pieces. He finishes mid-pack, he doesn't win.
If Moonlight is too deep, what about a horse like Capital Idea in post 10? He's technically designated as a P3, so a presser rather than a sustained closer, but he boasts a late pace profile of 112. That's a massive, powerful late kick.
Capital Idea is a very interesting case. He fits what the system calls a late P profile. He's a hybrid. He isn't as deeply removed from the race as a pure ghost like Moonlight, but he also isn't tactical enough to be a true forwardly placed satellite.
Right, he's stuck in the middle.
He just ran 2nd in the Grade 3 Ghost Sapper Stakes on March 28th, making a huge late run to grab the place money. But the Racing Form report hits the nail on the head regarding Capital Idea's chances today.
Yeah.
There is a timing issue here. He may need the race to open sooner than it actually will.
It sounds to me like Moonlight and Capital Idea are essentially commuters waiting at a bus stop for a bus that's running 10 minutes late.
That's a great way to put it.
They have their fare ready, they have the finishing kick, but the bus stop, the finish line arrives before they can even step on board. They collect the minor pieces of the purse, but they don't get their picture taken in the winner's circle.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. The framework offers very clear advice here. Use ghosts heavily underneath in your exotic bets, unless the race screams late vacuum.
And this race doesn't scream late vacuum.
This race does not scream late vacuum, it screams gradual erosion. So Moonlight and Capital Idea are totally usable in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th spots of your exacta and trifecta bets, but they are incredibly risky, negative value propositions to get on top to win.
Okay, so let's tie the threads together here.
Sure.
If the speed horses Dragoon Guard and the Disruptors get tired from the unstable front, and the deep closers Moonlight and Capital Idea run out of time because the pace merely erodes instead of collapsing, who inherits the race?
The race is inherited by the horses sitting perfectly in the middle. The system calls this the beneficiary profile.
And this is where we find our winner, the satellites.
According to the doctrine, in a gradual erosion race shape, the absolute prime winning profile is the efficient satellite. We have 2 incredible candidates in this field that fit this profile to perfection. BU and Tour Player.
Let's do a deep dive on BU first, because he brings some serious class to the table. He's drawing post 4. He is 72 on the morning line.
Very strong odds.
He is a P5 run style, which makes him a true presser. He is tied for the highest last race speed rating in the entire field with a 98. But what really stands out when you look at his past performances is his massive class relief.
Yes, his trainer, Todd Pletcher, is making a very shrewd move by dropping him out of heavily contested graded stakes company. He just ran in the Grade 2 Carter Stakes at Aqueduct on April 4th, where he ran a very respectable 3rd.
And he's won big races before,
Yeah,
right?
before that, he actually won the Toboggan Stakes. If you look further back, he was running against absolute killers in the Grade 1 Bluegrass Stakes and the Grade 1 Woody Stevens last year. He has been swimming in the deepest waters the sport has to offer.
So we know he has the raw talent, and he is stepping down to face an easier field. But how does he fit the physical geometry of this specific race?
He fits perfectly as what we call the clean inside satellite, drawing post 4 and having Hall of Fame jockey Johnny Velasquez in the irons. BU is going to smoothly slot in right behind the chaos of Dragoon Guard and Prince of Power.
Just tucking right in behind them.
He will sit right in the pocket, saving ground on the inside rail, letting the horses in front of him act as a windbreak.
Now, I noticed the system has a specific rule for this scenario, Rule 5. The clean inside override. What does that mean?
The system generally prefers outside satellites in chaotic, fast-paced races because they avoid traffic, but Rule 5 explicitly cautions, do not blindly favor outside. If the inside lane stays clean, the inside satellite can win.
So if the rail opens up.
If Johnny Velazquez can keep BU relaxed, and if the rail miraculously opens up as Dragoon Guard tires in the stretch, BU is absolutely deadly. He is highly tactical, he has massive class appeal, and he's sitting in a perfect stalking position. Make no mistake, he is the single biggest threat in this race.
Despite all that class and that perfect inside stalking profile, he is not our top pick.
No, he's not.
Our top pick, the horse we are planting our flag on, is drawn in post 6, Tour Player. He is sitting at 41 on the morning line. He is designated as an EP5, an early presser. He also threw a massive 98 speed figure in his last race.
He's got the speed.
And he has Flavien Prat, one of the best tactical riders in the country, in the saddle. So I need you to take a decisive analytical stance here. Why is Tour Player the ultimate pick over a class dropper like BU and a raw speed monster like Dragoon Guard?
Because when you map out the rushing lanes and the pressure points, Tour Player has the absolute cleanest geometry in the entire 12-horse field. Let's look at his most recent race on March 14th at Colonial Downs, the Royal North Kent Stakes.
Oh, this is the best part.
Do you know who he beat in that race? He beat Dragoon Guard, head-to-head, at this exact same 1-mile dirt distance.
That is the ultimate trump card. He already proved he could look the favorite in the eye and beat him on the track, not just on a spreadsheet.
But the how is much more important than the what. It's how he beat him that matters today. Tour Player proved he does not need the lead.
Right, he can sit back.
He let Dragoon Guard take all the pressure and deal with the early pace, while Tour Player sat comfortably on the outside. He launched a 4-wide rally, completely unimpeded by traffic, and simply swept past Dragoon Guard in the stretch. Tour Player is fast enough to stay connected to the early pace. He won't let them get too far away, but he is tactical enough and smart enough not to get involved in the suicide mission on the front end.
So, if BU is the inside satellite, Tour Player is the outside satellite.
Precisely. And in a race shape defined by an unstable front, the outside satellite has a massive race-winning advantage over the inside satellite.
Why is that?
Think about BU on the inside for a moment. If Dragoon Guard gets exhausted from fighting off the disruptors and starts backing up into the field, BU is completely trapped behind him.
Oh, I see.
Johnny Velazquez will have to hit the brakes, try to navigate BU around a massive 1,200-pound tiring horse, and somehow restart his momentum. That split second of deceleration is fatal in a horse race.
Meanwhile, Tour Player's out in the clear in post 6.
Exactly. As the outside satellite, Tour Player gets the absolute first clean strike at the prize. He sits outside the chaotic battle between Dragoon Guard, Prince of Power, and Burnin' Hot. He sits well ahead of the deep closers like Moonlight, who are stuck in the back.
Just a perfectly clean trip.
When the front begins to gradually erode, Tour Player does not have to navigate traffic. He does not have to hit the brakes. Flavien Prat just keeps his momentum rolling smoothly, tips him out into the clear, and says go.
So let me go back to my drafting analogy. Tour Player is essentially sitting in the slipstream. He is letting Dragoon Guard do all the grueling, physically exhausting work of breaking the wind, burning premium fuel, and fighting off those annoying defensive linemen.
Yep, doing all the dirty work.
And then, right at the top of the stretch, when Dragoon Guard is gasping for air, Tour Player just pulls out of the slipstream, hits the gas, and passes him effortlessly. All the while, BU is frantically looking for a hole to open up on the inside rail that might never appear.
That is exactly the script the herd geometry predicts will unfold. The doctrine states, the winner is the horse best positioned when the race resolves. Tour Player is, without a doubt, that horse.
Okay, so we have firmly planted our flag on Tour Player as the most mathematically and geometrically advantaged horse in the Knicks Go Overnight Stakes.
We have.
Now, we need to transition from theory to practice. How do we actually construct a ticket at the betting window to extract maximum value from this read? If we just bet Tour Player to win at 41, that's nice, but we really want to build exotics.
Building exotic wagers, exactus and trifectas, is where you actually make real money in horse racing. We were playing Tour Player on top. That is our foundational rock.
Right.
But to get the payouts to jump, you have to find hidden value underneath them in the second and third positions. You cannot just play the favorites underneath, or the math won't work in your favor long term.
So who are the value horses that perfectly fit this gradual erosion shape to hit the board?
I want to highlight two specific horses that are flying completely under the radar. Brutha Kenny and Brutha Take It. Let's start with Brutha Kenny.
Where's he drawn?
He is drawn all the way inside in post 1.
He's designated as a P2 run style, a presser with very low early exertion. Talk to me about Brutha Kenny.
Let's refer back to that trap bias data we discussed earlier. The inside rail post is winning at a 19% clip. It is a highly advantageous piece of real estate. Kenny is trained by Jose D'Angelo and ridden by Manuel Franco.
Has he been running on dirt?
Well, he has been running mostly on the turf and synthetic surfaces lately, including a very rough, troubled trip in the Grade 3 Pan American Stakes where he finished 6th. But he is dropping significantly in class today, and he is returning to his preferred surface, the main dirt.
And how does his geometry play out from the rail?
He is going to save every single inch of ground from post 1. He isn't nearly as fast on paper as Tour Player or BU. His prime power is only 135.2. But because he is a P2 presser, he doesn't need to fight for the early lead.
So he just chills on the rail?
He can simply let Dragoon Guard clear him, and then Kenny can sit right behind the early speed, completely covered up, taking no wind resistance, doing absolutely no physical work for the first 6 furlongs.
That sounds like a great trip.
If that inside trip stays clean and the front flight starts to wobble and erode, he is exactly the kind of ground-saving horse that sneaks into the trifecta at a massive price, while the casual bettors are looking elsewhere.
I love that angle. What about the other value horse you mentioned? We'll take it. He's out in post 7 at 81 odds.
We'll take it. It is designated as a P6. He is the ultimate grinder of this field. He is trained by Dallas Stewart, who is notorious for having horses ready to run at Churchill Downs, and he is ridden by Brian Hernandez Jr.
I'm looking at his recent form. He just ran 7th in the Grade 3 Oaklawn Mile, which isn't great, but before that, he actually won the 5th season stakes at Oaklawn, going this exact same 1 mile distance.
Exactly. He has very live, proven form at a mile. But more importantly, he loves this specific racetrack. Last year, he won a $100,000 optional claiming race right here at Churchill Downs going a mile. And in that race, he actually beat our favorite, Dragoon Guard.
Wait, really? Both of our value picks have a history against the favorite.
Yes. Back on May 22nd of last year, over this exact track, We'll Take It won the race, and Dragoon Guard finished 2nd.
Wow, that's a huge stat.
It is an attritional horse. He isn't going to explode past the field with a dazzling, visually stunning turn of foot. But when the pace gets heavy, when lactic acid builds up, and when the flashy speed horses start to quit, We'll Take It just puts his head down and keeps plodding away. He plods right past exhausted horses and into the trifecta.
Okay, let's build the actual ticket structures based on the doctrine's specific rules for capitalizing on a gradual erosion race. Let's start with the exacta.
The structural rule for an exacta in this scenario is satellite over ghost or speed hanger. So we confidently play Tour Player in the first spot to win. Underneath him, for 2nd place, we use BU, who is our main danger, with that clean inside trip.
Okay, who else?
We use Capital Idea, the tactical closer, who might run out of time to actually win, but can definitely grab 2nd place. And we use We'll Take It, our grinder, who loves the track.
Here's a question that I think a lot of listeners will have. Do we use Dragoon Guard underneath in 2nd place, even though we just spent the last 20 minutes tearing him down as a vulnerable false anchor?
Yes, we absolutely do. And this is a crucial point of betting discipline. We fade Dragoon Guard for the win because the structural geometry of the race is against him. But his raw talent, that massive 144.8 prime power rating, is so remarkably high compared to the rest of the field that he can still hang around and finish 2nd or 3rd, even on a terrible, exhausting trip.
That makes sense.
You don't toss a Ferrari out of the race entirely just because there's heavy traffic. You just bet against it winning the gold medal.
That makes perfect sense. So the exacta ticket is Tour Player over BU, Dragoon Guard, Capital Idea, and We'll Take It. Now let's build the trifecta.
The trifecta construction rule here is satellite over ghost plus speed plus broader field. So we put Tour Player exclusively on top. We put BU, Dragoon Guard, Capital Idea, and We'll Take It in the 2nd spot.
Okay.
And in the 3rd spot, we include all of those horses again, but we also add our deep value horses. Kenny at 151, and we finally include Moonlight at 81.
Moonlight finally makes an appearance on the ticket.
Yes, because as we established when evaluating the ghosts, they collect pieces. Moonlight will be passing completely tired horses very late in the race to grab 3rd place.
Right.
But I want to be clear. Our biggest stance in this entire race, our major value-generating angle, is explicitly fading Moonlight on top. The casual public will see that 101 late pace figure and respect his closing ability, but the actual physical reality of the race does not project to break down late enough for a true ghost to win.
To summarize the expert view here, and to really bring all these complex threads together, the betting public is going to look at the Knicks Go Overnight Stakes and blindly bet the human connections, the inside post, and the raw speed of Dragoon Guard.
Or they will recognize the potential speed duel, overreact to it, and blindly bet the late closing figures of a horse like Moonlight.
Exactly. But the geometry of the race and the smart money lives right in the middle. It lives with the satellites.
When the early speed is heavily pressured but not completely destroyed, the race belongs to the horse sitting just outside the fault line, waiting for the dust to settle. In this race, under these specific conditions, that horse is tour player.
This has been an absolutely incredible journey from the starting gate to the betting window. We promised a deep dive into the true physics and hidden mechanics of a horse race, and I think we have truly delivered on that promise today.
It really changes how you watch the sport, doesn't it? Once you see the geometry, you can't unsee it. You stop watching the horses and start watching the spaces between them.
It changes everything. The main takeaway here is profound, and it applies far beyond the racetrack. Don't just handicap the horses, handicap the race.
It's a subtle but massive difference.
The winner of the Knicks Go Overnight Stakes doesn't need to be the fastest horse on paper. It just needs to be the horse, like tour player, who is perfectly positioned when the pressure of the environment finally resolves.
It's all about context. Raw metrics, no matter how impressive, are ultimately useless without understanding the specific environment those metrics are applied in.
Which leads me to a final provocative thought for you to mull over as we wrap things up today. We spent the last hour talking about herd geometry, about billiard balls crashing into each other, and about pressure systems on a dirt track. But take a step back and think about your own life for a moment. Think about your workplace, your industry, or even just your daily commute in that rush hour traffic we talked about at the top of the show.
This is a great exercise.
Ask yourself, are you currently playing the role of the anchor? Are you burning all of your vital energy, fighting the wind, taking on all the pressure, defending your territory against disruptors, and exhausting yourself just to maintain your position on the rail?
That is an incredibly dangerous and exhausting way to run the race of life.
Or are you the satellite? Are you efficiently sitting just outside the friction? Are you conserving your resources, letting others break the wind and burn their fuel, and waiting patiently for the exact right moment to tip out into the clear and make your move?
Timing is everything.
Because whether you are a 1,200-pound thoroughbred thundering down the stretch at Churchill Downs or a professional navigating a complex career, position and timing will almost always beat raw power.
That is a fantastic analogy and really a perfect place to end.
Thank you so much for pulling up a chair and joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.